So up first, we're going to cover some of the protesting and rioting that had happened last night, as there actually really wasn't too much rioting last night, especially in Louisville. A bunch of the protesters found that they could have a sanctuary space over at a Unitarian church they'd found previously the night before. So there really wasn't much. I mean, it seemed to be pretty peaceful over there. The church let them in, gave them some food. I mean, that's perfectly acceptable. I mean, as long as they're not creating violence and destroying things, then that's perfectly fine. I don't have a problem with that then. That's perfectly safe, but doesn't seem to... but who knows? It could escalate this weekend. I mean, a lot of people are rumoring it and expecting it. But up first, we got a Louisville officer who criticized Black Lives Matter and Antifa in email, relieved of command to retire. A Louisville police officer who criticized Black Lives Matter and Antifa supporters in an email last month was relieved of her command and will retire, officials said Friday. Major Bridget Hallahan, 47, sent an email in August saying members of both groups will be the ones washing our cars and cashing out at the Walmart. In response, she was relieved of her duties leading the Louisville Metro Police Department's 5th Division and will retire August 1st, Interim Chief Report Schroeder said during a news briefing. They were her personal opinions and do not represent the views of this department. Too bad she's not allowed to express those views. We covered, what she said in the emails. The email comes after Louisville Sergeant John Mattingly emailed 1,000 of his colleagues and blamed Mayor Greg Fisher and other officials for failing all of us in epic proportions for their own gain and to cover their A, the Louisville Courier-Journal reported. Mattingly was one of the officers involved in the raid on Breonna Taylor's home that ended with her fatally shot 6 times. He also was shot during the March 13 operation. You do not deserve to be in this position, wrote Mattingly, the position that allows thugs to get in your face and yell, curse, and degrade you, throw bricks, bottles, and urine on you, and expect you to do nothing. On Friday, Schroeder said the department was reviewing the email and determining what course of action to take. You going to relieve him of duty too? Because, I think he has the right to be able to say this stuff, especially since 2 officers were shot during these protests. They could have died. What if they did die? You would have had way worse of a problem. But because they didn't, the guy gets cleared of just wanton endangerment, and pretty much that's about it. Yeah. So you can shoot at cops now and just apparently, get very low charges. You won't get a murder charge, I guess. DAs are all freaking corrupt. I wouldn't say all of them, but, oh man, there seems to be quite a majority. Up next, we got the Oregon Governor Brown declares emergency in Portland as Proud Boys rally approaches. Those stoking the flames of violence, those coming to Portland looking for a fight, will be held accountable. Well, they weren't looking for a fight. They wanted to have a peaceful protest. And that's it. And what do Proud Boys usually do at their rallies? They rally, they chant, and by the time it gets to around the evening, 7, 8 p.m., they go to the bar and they drink and have fun. And that's it. That's all they're going to do. Maybe if Antifa plans to show up like they said they would, and they said they were going to start the violence, then there probably will be violence, but that would be on Antifa. Considering they are saying they will go out and say they will commit this violence against the Proud Boy rally. So why are you disparaging the Proud Boys and the Patriot Pair groups when Antifa is clearly violating, say, Twitter's guidelines and saying they will attack these specific groups? She accused both groups of instigating violence in the city, repeatedly played out when right-wing protesters hold rallies in an effort to provoke those with opposing views. What about the 4 months of rioting in Portland? Huh? What about all the rioting in Seattle? What about all in that area, all that rioting? Huh? Over 100 days. And then you have the audacity just to be like, oh yeah, it's all Proud Boys' fault. They're the violent ones. What? In August, a Patriot Prayer supporter was shot and killed in downtown Portland during a confrontation. Michael Forrest Reinhold said he shot Aaron Danielson in self-defense. He was killed by law enforcement officers as they attempted to arrest him in Olympia, Washington. We do know that it was not in self-defense. Portland has grappled with more than 100 consecutive days of protests that have included fights, arson, vandalism, assault, and murder. On Thursday, protesters set fire to the Portland Police Association building, police said. State Police Superintendent Travis Hampton said a massive influx of state troopers and sheriff's deputies will flood Portland beginning Saturday morning. He said authorities will not tolerate violence and other criminal activity and will try to keep groups separate to avoid confrontations. It was not clear how many law enforcement officers are tapped to come to the city. Under the arrangement, officers will have access to tear gas, Hampton said. Portland Mayor Ted Wheeler, who also serves as the city's police commissioner, has prohibited his officers from using the chemical agent after criticism that it was being indiscriminately deployed during protests. It's all right. They're saying it's pretty much okay to use tear gas on the groups that they say it's okay to use tear gas on. Okay. So that's the game that they want to play. Yeah, some of these officials are seem to be pretty corrupt. Ted Wheeler. just to name one. But, says operating under the Governor's Emergency Act, we will not remove CS gear as a possibility from these events, Hampton said. We will use it judiciously. We hope we will not use it at all, but we will make this available not only to Oregon State Police troopers and Multnomah County Sheriff's deputies, but also to Portland police officers. You know, it's got from the Daily Mail. I think they have a little bit more on, the news of this than Fox did. It says many out-of-state demonstrators, some armed, were expected to attend the Proud Boy event in a park about 6 miles north of downtown, state officials said, with organizers expecting a crowd of up to 20,000, according to local television station KGW8. It'd be hilarious if they just didn't show up and there was nobody there, like they did in Philadelphia. It'd be great. There's probably going to end up being people there because it just got so widely known, but oh man, that'd be hilarious if then even if the Prouders were there and they're just like, no, we're canceling this. Just go home. Nobody show up. That'd be great. Because then Antifa would show up, like if they didn't show up at all and didn't even like at all, and then Antifa showed up and we're like, well, we're the Proud Boys. We came for a fight. We got Proud Boys chairman Enrique Tarrio said his group did not intend to cause violence. We will be peaceful unless provoked. I encourage people to protest us. Tarrio wrote on Twitter on Thursday, what we won't condone or tolerate is violence towards attendees. The Men Only Proud Boys group described itself as a fraternal organization that is anti-racism and anti-political correctness. Civil rights group the Southern Poverty Law Center, which is crap, classifies the Proud Boys as a hate group, citing its members' anti-Muslim and misogynist rhetoric. If I could speak. Yeah, I wouldn't... Anything from the Southern Poverty Law Center is crap. They'll say anybody is racist. They'll say anybody is a hate group. They could just name one person as a hate group, and then they'll try to dox them and get them screwed. President Donald Trump, who has made law and order a principal theme of his bid for re-election on November 3rd, has singled out Portland as one of several Democratic-led cities he calls anarchist jurisdictions. Jeez, I cannot speak. His Democratic challenger, former Vice President Joe Biden, says Trump's rhetoric is stoking the violence. This violence has been happening for 4 months. 4 months. He is not stoking the violence. Antifa and BLM are stoking the violence, saying it is okay to go out and burn and loot and possibly... what does M stand for? What are they saying? It's a possibility. Now, I'll call, Black Lives Matter okay when they're doing the right thing. When they're actually being a peaceful protest and not causing looting and burning and rioting and all that stuff. But they won't even condemn it. Like, the leaders of Black Lives Matter won't condemn this violence. Well, then again, Democratic leaders say it's justified. They say they should do it. Kamala Harris Kamala Harris even came out and praised them. We have that here. Kamala Harris praises BLM, says ongoing protests are essential for change in U.S. The violence? What about the minority business owners that had all their stores burnt up? All their businesses looted? Where is their justice? They don't get that. What about the $2 billion that have already been done in destruction due to these protests and these riots that you now keep inciting? We got peaceful protests against racial injustice are critical for the nation's progress and help to keep law enforcement in check. Senator Kamala Harris, D from California, said Friday, nothing that we have achieved that has been about progress, in particular around civil rights, has come without a fight. And so I always am going to interpret these protests as an essential component of evolution in our country, as an essential component or mark of a real democracy, the vice presidential nominee said during the NAACP's national convention. She added that the protests were necessary as the people's voices must be heard, and it is often the people who must speak to get their government to do what it is supposed to do, but may not do naturally unless the people speak loudly and obviously peacefully. Well, no shite peacefully. Trying not to swear, but Kamala, what? You're saying that these protests that they are rioting and looting and burning and people are dying at are essential? I remember back in the day, one of the most influential protests was just a sit-in, a quiet little sit-in. One of the most influential. Do you think these are going to be influential? No, they're going to show how fascistic and socialist that you guys want this country to be. Because if I try to say anything against Black Lives Matter and Antifa, then what? Am I going to get doxxed? Am I going to get ridiculed? Good. Ridicule me, but don't dox me, because that's obviously wrong. Why would you do that? Are you crazy? Well, apparently some of them are. Harris also praised the brilliance and impact of Black Lives Matter, which has received media praise but also come under fire for promoting left-wing stances like opposing the nuclear family. I actually believe that Black Lives Matter has been the most significant agent for change within the criminal justice system, she said. You mean they want to abolish the police? They want to get rid of it. That's not even a change. That's just destruction. And then what's going to happen when the police are gone, Kamala? Are there going to be police officers for you? No, you're just going to hire a private security to then just straight up kill these people if they try to do anything against you. Because these security agencies, they don't give a shite. We also got Kamala Harris is branded ignorant for praising BLM protests and calling them essential just 3 days after 2 cops were shot during Louisville riots. You know, it just covers a bit what I had said earlier. We got some tweets. Kamala Harris praises BLM, says ongoing protests are essential for change in U.S. Good Lord, is this woman really this ignorant, and are there no limits to her pandering? After months of left-wing violence, Democrat Senator Kamala Harris says these protests are an essential part of our evolution as a country. Nothing we've achieved has come without a fight, and so I'm always going to interpret these protests as an essential component of evolution in our country, and as necessary. Remember this when you see cities on fire and people attacked. Is a kiss up and will say anything to win approval. She wasn't popular during the primary. She hasn't changed a bit today. I mean, she's still... You think you rioters and protesters are going to be safe when Harris decides to become president? Because we all know that Biden won't. We know Biden's going to end up falling off within the first week of his presidency, and then Harris will just take over. It's like, I can't believe you can then just praise the extreme actions that BLM and Antifa have taken and say that these are justified and essential. No. I would say the very influential sit-in that was quiet, what was that, in the 50s, 60s? Yeah, that is an essential one. Those are essential. Peaceful protest under the First Amendment are essential. What you are inciting is not. You keep inciting Black Lives Matter and Antifa for more violence when you actually come out with this rhetoric. When you say that this is essential and what they've been doing is right, you justify their reasoning to be able to continue these actions, to continue to burn and loot. I hope you don't get office, Harris. I really hope so. Because you're the one who seems to be inciting this violence. We got to meet the groups bailing protesters nationwide from jail. They're demanding bail reform. So yeah, there's a few groups going around that are pretty much just bailing out all these protesters. We know they're getting funds from a bunch of leaders and just GoFundMe's allowing all this to happen. But then if it goes on the other side of the aisle from the opposition, GoFundMe will just ban them. See, apparently one side is allowed to do whatever they want, and the other side just has to take it. We got the Bail Project. The Soros-connected entity that rented the U-Haul in Louisville was given $350K to $1 million in COVID relief funds. So yeah, we reported yesterday that there was a U-Haul truck that came up, gave people shields and weapons, essentially, and paintings as they abolished the police. Says it's basically being a bunch of the people that were connected to the Bail Project has ties to a number of famous faces. The board advisors include Richard Branson and Danny Glover, while at least 2 of the higher-up members of the organization are benefits of the Soros Justice Fellows fund provided by the Open Society Foundation. And if that's true, if they can start, and if they can, maybe get this lady, and if they can actually find out that these funds are actually connected to Soros, that'd be huge. Because it's the rumor that Soros is funding protests and riots throughout the world. So if that can actually come to light here in the U.S., that'd be cool. If it is true, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I'm not gonna say otherwise yet. Anyways, that's pretty much it for the protest stuff today. As I said, there wasn't anything too violent yesterday, and I'm sure they were gearing up now for the Proud Boy rally today, so we'll cover that probably a bit later. We'll see if anything really big happens. I doubt it, though. Otherwise, we'll talk about it tomorrow. Next video will be coming up in a few hours. I'll see you then.